right, so this is Shaina Krieger. How has your relationship with yoga evolved when you first got into it to where it is now?
When I first started, I had lots of time and space, you know, with myself, you know, to practice asana, to practice pranayama. My yoga shifted from so much asana to more selflessness and devotion to children and my husband, and finding, you know, myself in that too. You know, how can I stay devoted to myself and feel nourished and feel my creative root being growing?
Yeah,
So
and growing with the kids.
Yeah,
right?
growing with them.
Evolving with them. You redefine, right? Yoga was one thing and now it's evolved to something else.
Yes.
But the benefits are always there. It's just people come through here, but you personally have some deep ties with this land.
Yes, and that's from, you know, my daughter being born here, being able to experience the birth of my own children. My son was born at home when we were living in town, and my daughter was born out here in the barn space which we live in now. And that whole process of really understanding what it means to take personal responsibility, that's a big one.
What other knowledge have you learned from your education currently with exploring midwifery? And
yeah, I'm really interested in you know, just the practice of midwifery, doula work, childbirth education, and birth anthropology even, you know. How hunter-gatherer societies gave birth, and everywhere else in between, and how that's led to where we are now, and then what we're doing now, and then where that's going to lead. I think Margaret Mead said something along the lines of, birth is a direct reflection of where we are as a culture and society, and it's so true. I would never tell a woman, you know, don't have your baby yet in a
micromanage
hospital.
her birth.
Yeah,
right?
I would never want to micromanage or tell someone what to decide. What I value most is the power of personal choice and personal education, and the power of taking personal responsibility, and the power of decision-making processes, and how through that we grow so much and evolve so much as far as honoring the life within and bringing it in as gently as we can, and establishing,
and in its own way, right? Because each woman is different.
Yeah,
each body is different.
Yeah.
So it's just to tell all the women, get on a table and push. Yeah. Right. It's not going to work for everyone.
And also, I want to say too, as far as C-sections, like some women, a lot of it comes in where it's like sexual abuse, sexual trauma, where like they don't want people, because in a hospital it's a lot of different people cycling in and out. They don't want that unknown person touching them in that area, and like
probing to see how far are you dilated, right? Let's rotate.
Yes, and that's what happens, you know, constant vaginal checking, and just, you know, life or death scenarios, instead of like delivering all the options. And informed consent, that's a big one. A lot of people don't understand that definition. And
the routine cut of doing the episiotomy. It's just, I had to tell a dear friend that, hey, this is actually routine for them to just cut. You actually have to go and you have to tell them now.
Episiotomy is where they cut the perineum. The perineum is the muscle between the anus and the vagina, so they'll slice it, usually with a scalpel, I think, and just a little bit, they'll slice it, and it just creates a wider opening from the vagina down, you know, for the baby's head to move through. But that's so dangerous because a lot of times it creates incontinence within the woman, and then she's embarrassed to talk about it, and she never can have a bowel movement in the same way. Sometimes it heals great, but it's like old school knowledge that we're losing. Like, just support the perineum with a warm cloth and hot water, and massage the perineum, you know, months before you have the baby with castor oil or sesame seed oil. Like, there's so many. That's what midwifery is like that wise woman knowledge of the whole system and nourishing it, instead of it's fear, we need to intervene. And this constant intervention, cascade of intervention, one thing leading to the other, because we're picking at this part of the system instead of, oh, what's her positioning? What kind of shaped pelvis does she have?
Exactly. How is the baby laying? Like,
How's the baby in there? The whole electric fetal monitoring. There's all kinds of stuff on that, and how inaccurate it is, and how much intervention that causes in itself. And science is great. Like, I don't want to bash science. It's amazing, but we need to make peace with the East and the West, the eagle and the condor. They need to fly together. It's crazy.
So, a recent statistic came out as per the CDC, said in 2016, this year, that as of 2016, 27 different doses of 10 different vaccines can be given before the age of 15 months to a child. What do you think about the role of vaccines?
It's a touchy subject. It's very personal. I'm not anti-vaccine. I would never say don't vaccinate your children, because again, I'm all about, the personal power of personal choice and educating yourself and deciding for what's best for you and your family. And there's the whole argument of, well, that decision affects the whole populace, and I see that as, a reasonable stance of where people are coming from. But I also read this book called Dissolving Illusions. I'll have to get the author's name, but it talked a lot about epigenetics and environment, and how our environment is constantly changing and has changed so much from where we were. We've become more sanitary. So a lot of, I don't know, what do I say to that? For me and my own family, we've decided not to vaccinate, and we get a lot of different judgments from that, like, oh, I can't believe you would do that to your children, and it affects the rest of the world. And for me, I have not found enough evidence, or in my own intuition and own personal empowered decision making, it does not feel like the right decision to vaccinate my children. I believe in, science greatly, but I also really believe in the human microbiome and the power of birth, and how when we can establish a safe area, not a safe area, but a more consciously evolved area and space to bring our children into and understand, the role of the vaginal fluid on the baby and how that creates their health and their microbiome, and breast milk. And when a mother kisses her baby, it recalibrates her breast milk into picking up, the mother kisses the baby, she picks up viruses on her lips from the baby, and then her body adjusts to create the antibodies for those viruses. Like, I'm just a full believer in the human microbiome and the power of nature, and understanding the processes of nature, and really honing in on that knowledge instead of constant intervention and removal of one substance to inject into, a human to stop or prevent. It doesn't make sense to me at all. And I know a lot of parents feel confused about it, and pressured and judged, and it's very disempowering and very frustrating when the government is telling you.
Exactly.
But again, it goes back to that obstetrics thing for me. Once I see the history of how we got to where we are with vaccinations, with childbirth, hey baby, I can't, it's a white elephant. Can't not pay attention to it. Hi baby, let me meet you, boy. Yeah.